Hey, thanks for checking out the Next Level Radio YouTube page. If you like what you hear, head to nextlevelradioonline.com. Find other podcasts and interviews that aren't included on the YouTube page, including guests such as Chris Parnell from SNL and Archer, Colin Mochrie from Whose Line Is It Anyway, Kim Coates from Sons of Anarchy, even Chris Allen from American Idol, and much more. You can also download our podcasts on iTunes and Stitcher or stream them straight from our website at nextlevelradioonline.com. Also on the webpage, you'll find links to our Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you follow us to keep updated on everything we have going on and everything we have coming up. nextlevelradioonline.com also gives you coverage of events such as Philadelphia Comic-Con, and you can even check out our staff blog that includes movie reviews and much more. Again, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and head over to nextlevelradioonline.com for much more. Thanks for listening. By the way, Hamish Linklater.
That's it.
That's the guy who you're thinking of.
That's it. Well, that's probably going to pick up.
Who's backing up?
I know.
What are you getting, a delivery?
Yeah.
Yeah, just come on in, fellas. Put it right.
Hey there, this is Jimmy Simpson.
Hi, it's Selena J.
This is Kevin Murphy.
And you are listening to
The Showcast on
Next Level Radio.
Next Level Radio. Have fun.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Showcast here on the Next Level Podcast Network. I am Ben Beck, joined once again by Adam Gorey and Steve Richards. Come on. I was waiting for Steve to start singing with that one.
What happened to that boy?
since he's been doing it through all the prep. We have another good show for you this week. This week we are going to have an interview with the Brad Sherwood from Whose Line Is It Anyway? As well as 2 more reviews for the Oscar-nominated films. This week we are going to be discussing and reviewing Birdman, starring Michael Keaton.
What happened to that boy?
I'll try and limit it, but I had to do it for that.
For Birdman.
Yeah, when you said it.
Yeah. Birdman starring Michael Keaton, and Grand Budapest Hotel starring everybody else in Hollywood.
Yeah, seemed that way.
So, but we are going to kick things off. We're going to get started right away since it is Super Bowl Sunday, and we want to be able to watch the game and get through this recording, which the game will be over by the time you guys listen, and I'm going to say congratulations, Seattle Seahawks. At least that's my prediction.
I'm going Patriots. Right. I'm going the Deflators, New England Deflators.
Yeah, you're going with the Deflategate.
Yeah.
Steve, what's your prediction?
The Seahawks will win the game.
All right, good. Good man.
Everybody listening already knows who's right and who's wrong, but that's okay.
Yeah, it pretty much works out. But let's keep things going, and let's kick things off with the box office for the week. How's the box office look this weekend?
First we'll start off with number 5, dropping from number 2, The Boy Next Door, with J-Lo still getting it done in the top 5. Just over $6 million this week for a 2-week total of $24.6 million. Number 4 opening up. Steve called this one Black or White, the Kevin Costner flick, 6.4 mil. Like I said, that's its opening total. That currently has a 35% on Rotten Tomatoes. 74 from the audience, though. That's a huge disparity there between the two.
Yeah, it's a pretty big gap.
Yeah, so number 3, opening at number 3, Project Almanac. I think Ben and I both said this could probably get in the top 5. 8.5 million for that one. That has a 36% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 53 from the audience.
Wait a minute, that made 8.5 million. I thought you said Black or White made about like 6-point-something million. How's that number 2 and Project Almanac is number 3? Or am I incorrect in what you said backwards. Black or White made?
You might want to start listening to the podcast. We're going from 5 to 1.
Ah, crap. It's the same system we use every week, and somehow I screwed it up.
Number 5, just to recap for those who aren't listening,
yeah.
aka Ben. Number 5 was The Boy Next Door. Number 4 was Black or White. Number 3 is Project Almanac. Moving up a spot in its third week, Paddington. moving up
Told
to
you,
number
Rotten
2.
Tomatoes. 106%.
Beat out Project Almanac by $5,000 to get in that number 2 spot. That has a 3-week gross of 50.5 million. Doesn't quite have 100 and whatever, but it still does have a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. And then again, at number 1, American Sniper, 31.8 mil for a 6-week total, 248.9 million. And like I say every week, this is its 3rd week being, nationwide. So that's just absolutely crazy. And we talked about the review last week. So if you want to hear that, go to nextlevelradioonline.com, or better way to do it, subscribe on iTunes, because you can take us wherever you go.
That's true.
Dishonorable mention to The Loft. It made the top 10, 2.8 million, has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh my God.
57 from the audience, but a 0% from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's gotta be in a list of its own then.
Yeah, I don't know that, since we've been doing these, I don't know that we've had a 0. We've had some single digit, but not 0.
Yeah.
That's a first for the Showcast, so. Getting on to what's coming out this week, you have Jupiter Ascending with Mila Kunis, Channing Tatum, Eddie Redmayne, James Darcy, and was Eric Bean in this? Is in this too, right? Isn't he?
I'm not sure. I do know that I will have a quick review of it. I think. Sean
Bean, not Eric Bean.
Okay, I think either next week. Oh, Sean Bean from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be going to a screening of that this week. So by next podcast, I believe I will have at least a short review of that.
Yeah, I think it looks decent. I think it'll make the top 5, but I don't know that it's going to do well on the tomato meter. Memer.
I think it has a lot of star power, and people still blindly follow the Wachowski, what used to be brothers, now the Wachowski siblings, blindly, but not realizing they haven't made a decent movie in like 15 years. But I think it's going to make a lot of money just from the names alone.
Yeah, probably
that's true.
Since what, The Matrix?
The Matrix, yeah.
I'm considering The Matrix the only thing that they've ever done, but
I don't know if you saw this too, and you guys will probably see it tonight. There is a Kia commercial during the Super Bowl tonight with Lawrence Fishburne as Morpheus.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's
didn't he do one last year? And somebody called Samuel L. Jackson. Somebody thought Samuel L. Jackson did the commercial. Did you ever see that?
Maybe it was last year's commercial that I saw. I don't know. Something about taking a red key and a blue key.
I don't remember.
I saw it on Hulu, so maybe it was last year's commercial. I could be wrong.
No, I'm not sure, but I just know that at one point Lawrence Fishburne did one, right? And so Samuel L. Jackson was on this interview with like maybe CNN or one of those, and the guy had brought up the commercial thinking Samuel L. Jackson was the guy in the commercial.
That's awesome.
And Samuel L. Jackson just laid into him like,
yeah,
we all look alike, like all this like crap.
Yeah, I do remember that too.
Yeah, it's really funny. Next you have The Seventh Son. Actually, it's just called Seventh Son. There's no the. There should be though. I'm adding it. Ben Barnes, Julianne Moore, Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges has been doing a lot of movies lately. I've seen a couple previews on it. It looks interesting. Looks like a entertaining film. I don't know that I see it making the top 5, but we'll get to that when we recap. The SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, in 3D, comes out also.
Steve, didn't you want to go to a screening of that?
Yeah, maybe. As long as it's 10:30 on a Friday morning.
Then you have, I assume this is called Ballet 422 or 422. I don't know. Not Ballet, because B-A-L-L-E-T. Never heard of this one. It's a documentary, so probably not going to get a lot of exposure there. And that is it. Looking ahead, though, next week's got a pretty good, couple good ones opening up, like The Kingsman and 50 Shades of Grey.
Well, they
which
call that
also
the Valentine's Day releases.
Yeah, that's true. Steve, I know, wants to see 50 Shades of Grey as well. So
again,
he's
only
excited.
if I can go by myself.
So, out of Jupiter Ascending, Seventh Son, SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, and Ballet 422 or 422, any of those making the top 5? All of those making the top 5. What do you think?
SpongeBob is going to open at least in the first 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would agree.
I think Jupiter Ascending, like Steve said, just because of the name, is going to probably crack the top 5.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to make top 3. I think American Sniper is still going to stay up there pretty high. And I know SpongeBob, just because it's a kid's movie and it's a name everybody knows, it's going to stay up there too. I think Paddington's probably going to drop. Probably, I would say, to 4th. And then, I don't know if, my prediction, I don't know if SpongeBob is going to beat American Sniper. I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah, I'm going to say
How much did American Sniper make last week?
60s, maybe? No, sorry, 30s. 31.8. Yeah, I think SpongeBob makes more than that.
I think SpongeBob is going to knock it out at number 1.
Yeah. Steve, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I would agree. And I think because all the other movies are so weak that Jupiter Ascending is probably in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Probably 3rd.
Yeah, I would say probably 3rd, 4th, somewhere there. Seventh Son, I think, will just miss out. It doesn't have as much of star power or exposure as the other ones, so. But yeah, I agree. So that is it for my end.
All right, moving on to my end with the DVD and Blu-ray releases. And just to confirm, too, I looked it up. The Kia commercial I was referring to with Lawrence Fishburne was last year's Super Bowl. So it was not this year's. Yeah, I know. But moving on to the DVD and Blu-ray releases for this week, starting off with Dracula Untold, starring Luke Evans and Dominic Cooper. Made about $55.9 million at the box office, 22% for the critics on Rotten Tomatoes, 59% for the audience. It is a pass. I thought it looked horrible when I saw the previews for it.
Yeah, I'm going to pass as well.
Moving on to Ouija, starring Olivia Cook, $50.8 million at the box office, a 7% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, 29% for the audience.
Still beat out The Loft.
It did. 29% from the audience, so I think that makes it a certified Rotten Tomato flop. It's a pass.
It also came out in October of 2014.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Didn't last so long.
No, not really.
No, that's like 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Also, if you're trying to look it up, you just have to Google Ouija.
Yeah, it's Ouija.
Yeah.
Is how you spell it. Next on the list is Hector and the Search for Happiness, starring Simon Pegg and Rosamund Pike, who is nominated for Gone Girl this year at the Academy Awards. 1.1 million at the box office, but it was a very limited release. 35% from the critics, so not too well from the critics, but a 61% from the audience. And that was one I got to see a screening of as well, and I enjoyed it just because I'm a big Simon Pegg fan. So it's going to be a buy for me just because, like I said, I'm a big fan of Simon Pegg.
Yeah, I like Simon Pegg too, so I guess I'll give that one like a Netflix. By the way, Ouija is a pass for me. I don't know if I said that.
Yeah, it's a pass for me too, absolutely. And last but not least on this list, a certified buy for Adam. That would be John Wick, starring Keanu Reeves.
Actually, I already bought it. Pre-ordered.
No, did you really?
No.
Oh, that would have shocked me. Because, Adam and his whole, any movie starring Keanu Reeves is automatically horrible no matter
Other
what
than The
it
Matrix.
Is. He's done some good movies. I don't care what you
said.
Oh, no, I'm right behind Adam on this one.
I say this all the time. I will give him 3.
Okay, yeah, so The Matrix.
Right.
Bill and Ted.
Right.
And it's not Bill and Ted 2, is it?
Has to do with the bus.
Speed.
There you go.
Oh,
Come, he's done.
Those are the only 3 Keanu Reeves movies I will watch. And
I really like The Replacement.
The Replacement
is awesome.
Is actually pretty funny.
Despite
I forgot
Keanu
about
Reeves, but The Replacement is awesome.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
like that movie's good in spite of him. Like if he wasn't in it, it would have been better. Name me a movie that he made better.
The Lake House.
Exactly. That's the only one.
A movie that he made better. This was a challenge, and I'd say challenge accepted. And if I had sound effects, I would play that. But
I thought you did have sound effects. What happened to that?
Not the way I'm set up right now. I just
Okay.
I don't have anything set up. But not Constantine. I don't want to go there.
Something's gotta give.
So he was in Something's Gotta Give. That's right.
What about Hardball?
No,
Hardball is
no.
good.
It was a
Hardball
good
is
movie.
actually entertaining.
But it's also
didn't-
despite Keanu Reeves.
Exactly.
I got one that he was really good in. Point Break.
Okay. Maybe.
Okay.
Right. I actually was
Point
thinking
Break was a can't miss. That's why.
the only one he made better is Bill and Ted, because like that role is perfect for him.
Yes, it was.
That was the answer, by the way.
And The Devil's Advocate was another good one too.
I don't think I saw that one.
Him and Al Pacino.
Yeah, I like Pacino. Speaking of Pacino, the Ocean's 13 was on this weekend.
Oh, I forgot he was in that one.
Yeah, so did I.
So, but that's it for the DVD and Blu-ray releases for this week, which means Ed is going to wrap it up for the box office.
Hey, this is Lucky Yates. I play Dr. Krieger on the show Archer on FX. You're listening to Next Level Radio.
All right. So a few months back, we had a great opportunity to talk to Colin Mochrie, who you would know from Whose Line Is It Anyway? And our guest tonight is someone who I guess you could call his other half, at least on stage. So please welcome to the show our guest, the Brad Sherwood. Brad, thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm here to set the record straight on all of the fabrications and lies that Colin perpetrated on your show.
It's funny you bring that up, too, because, like I said, when we spoke to him a couple months ago, we asked him for advice on what to say to you when we got the chance to talk to you, and he pretty much told us we shouldn't even tape it, that we wouldn't get anything out of you. You pretty much just talk about your time on the dating game.
Yeah. He's pretty bitter. Most people get, in most partnerships, one is the funny one and one is the good-looking one, and somehow I got both those cards, so I'm not sure what he does.
Well, hopefully we'll get this interview down, and we're taping anyway against his better judgment. So,
whether we use it is another story. But at least
we'll use it. I'm sure we'll use it. So you're back on tour with Colin, and your tours seem to be never ending. I mean, you're one of the few touring acts that I've ever seen that has dates booked probably like a good 2 years in advance. And I'm kind of hoping the answer to this question is no, because I love seeing you guys. I've seen you guys at least 3 times. I plan on seeing you even more. There's no chance of the show ever coming to an end anytime soon, I would assume.
Yeah, well, we call this our part-time job, and we've now been doing it for going on 11 years. So we are happy to do it, and we both love performing in front of a live audience. That's both. I think we both have a background in theater and live comedy. So to get a chance to improv, which is our favorite thing, and to be on stage the whole time, it's just sort of a dream gig for us. So we literally gave it a try way back when, as an offshoot from when the whole gang would do Super Bowl shows in Vegas, and there'd be like 10 or 12 of us on stage. You'd get up and you'd do a game, and then you'd sit on the stools and wait for like 4 games before you got back up again. So we were kind of like the special teams on a football team. So you only get to kick a field goal once every 30, 40 plays. So we liked getting on stage and being up there the whole time, and we've sort of never stopped because people keep coming to see us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you've been doing it for 11 years now, and other than probably popularity-wise, what's been different for you guys while you're touring now compared to when you started? Because, 11 years ago, that's 2004. I don't even know if smartphones were as prevalent as they are now. So, I got to imagine a lot has changed in the past 12 years.
We always tell people not to record our show on their phones, but invariably after every performance, there's, videos up on YouTube, which then expose the fact that we do the exact same show every single night. No, there are bits, we always sing a goodnight song, and we do the mousetrap game, so people always want to tape that stuff. And they tape their friends when the friends are dragged up on stage. So it's kind of hard to keep them from doing it. The people that promote our tour every once in a while will go on YouTube and, send a cease and desist order to YouTube about some video that's up there. But, it doesn't really matter to us. But I would say that as far as what has changed, I would say actually the phones now that they all have the little flashlight light with the camera.
Yeah.
Now at the end when we sing and do stuff, they hold them up. It's kind of like being at a concert.
Oh, that's cool.
With the lighters from back in the 80s.
Yeah. You mentioned, you said all the goodbye song that you do in the Mousetrap game, and I had personally asked Colin about the Mousetrap game, and I asked him, where it had come from, and he said that it came from your dark, demented mind, and that you guys have actually at some point tried to ease it out of the show, just because it's one of your least favorite games, and I can only imagine why it's one of your least favorite games that you guys do. But the audience just loves it too much. Can we still count on seeing it during this tour?
Yeah, it's sort of the beast that we can't kill, and I can't take full credit for it being my idea. It's not my idea. It was an old, weird improv game that was in this sort of compiled list of crazy ideas from hundreds of improvisers from around the country and really around the world. There was a group called Theater Sports, and they still exist in some cities around the country. And a bunch of them had compiled all the different ideas and games, and so it was just in the back of this. It was kind of the Necronomicon. What is it called? The Necronomicon?
The Necronomicon. Yeah, no, I forget.
Yeah. No, Necronomicon is when dead people go to Comic-Con.
Go to Comic-Con.
Yes. So anyway, whatever that book is, covered with dead flesh, yes. It was the improv version of that, and I sort of, we chanted the idea to do this, and now we can't kill it.
Yeah, I think Colin called
the
it...
audience loves it just that much.
Yeah, Colin called it the vampire, just because no matter how... You just can't kill it no matter what you try and do with it.
Yeah, and, we hate it because it hurts our feet, and we feel like we've been doing it long enough that nobody wants to see it anymore, and we can feel a palpable disappointment if we don't do it. So we're like, okay, this is going to be tied to us like a giant goiter for the rest of our lives.
I'm sure it hurts a little more than your feet, because I've seen those mousetraps placed in certain places on your body alone from Colin that no mousetrap should go close to.
For some reason, he seems to have a really good radar as to exactly the height and level of my junk at all times. So he seems to, even when he's blindfolded, able to launch them right at my private parts. But I'm thinking of maybe like the Patriots. I'm going to deflate my balls a few percentage points so they don't hurt quite as much.
Oh, man.
Well, I mean, obviously the tour is improv, but people do have tendencies to come up with the same ideas, other than obviously just, I know Colin says a lot of people say like gynecology or something along those lines, but even stuff you actually want to pick, people have the tendency to come up with the same idea. How often do the same audience suggestions come up and have you choose them? And when they do you go back to something you've used in the past that really hit big, or do you try and use something else that, to make sure you switch it up every show?
We try and switch it up because we're playing a lot of the same games. And, we just sort of, for a while now, we've retired a game called Moving Bodies, and we replaced it with another game called Living Scenery, where the audience does all the sort of the moving themselves. And but for a while, because you're playing the game over and over again, you want to reach for new suggestions, because the last thing you want to do is somehow be in the same city 3 years later and accidentally take the same suggestion, and then people are like, well, you did firemen for sound effects both times you were here. So then they think we're doing firemen only all over the country. So we actually recently came up with a way of shaking it up so that we almost never get the same suggestion twice. We used to come up with ideas for what to ask for before any particular game. And then Colin had the idea to write down a bunch of sort of obtuse ways of asking for suggestions on cards, and he laminated them. And then before each game, so we had like 10 cards, we sort of fan them out for an audience person. They choose a card. So now we've already had a 1 in 10 chance of the way we're asking for a suggestion happening again in that game. And then based on whatever they're asking for, because they're way more vague and less specific than just like a dangerous occupation, which was a common one we used to have.
Yeah.
It really spins the wheel of randomness so that we almost never would get a suggestion. However, if within a couple of days, if we ask for something in like an adventurous activity, if we got kayaking and then someone else yelled out kayaking, we'll say, oh, we just recently had that, so we throw that one away and take the next thing.
Yeah,
because we don't want to do the same things over and over again.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, like I said, I've seen you a couple times, and it's been a different show every time. So it's, I think that's one of the things that makes your tour so great.
Well, I think we play better when we're launching off into the unknown. There are certain things like even in the Mousetrap game, if you've seen that more than once, there are a couple of things in that kind of happen the same, because that's sort of like just a classic goofy thing that we do. So some classic bits with him trying to, get me are going to happen, but we say that our show is basically 99.99% improvised, So if we do a 2-hour and 15-minute show and there's like 1 or 2 minutes of little nuggets that you might have seen before, so be it.
Yeah,
There's not much you can change when you're constantly being attacked by mousetraps. There's you can only react and paint so many different ways.
Yeah, it's the least improv-y game that we do because it's such a physical gimmick. So that's why we really try to raise the stakes and keep innovating and coming up with new games. As many as we can each year that we go out, we come up with a couple of new ones. And so that makes it fun for not only the audience that comes back and they're like, okay, every time we do go see them, we see at least 2 or 3 new games that we never saw before. So we owe it to them, and we play better when we're playing scared. I think the better you are as an improviser, the better you do when you truly launch yourself into the unknown.
Yeah. I know from seeing you on Whose Line, I know that big impressions are a big part of the games that you guys played, and you yourself have done quite a few different ones. I mean, you did Springsteen, Bob Dylan, Jimmy Stewart, and I know 2 of my personal favorites were Mick Jagger and Fred Schneider from the B-52s, which you had done quite a few times. Those impressions to me were pretty spot on. And one of the things I've always wondered when it comes to impressions like that, were those impressions ones that you intentionally learned, or were they just something you discovered on your own, just messing around and doing different improv along the way?
Well, the funny thing is, before I did Whose Line, I had never done any type of musical improv where I was directly spoofing or impersonating existing artists. But when we were doing Greatest Hits on that show, they wanted to send up a bunch of different people. So we would do, musical style, I don't want to call them rehearsals, but they just wanted to see what we might do if, can we do an adequate spoof of, say, the Rolling Stones or the B-52s. They just wanted to know that we could do it enough that we might plausibly pass as, oh, this is a tip of the hat to that. So it wasn't until literally in a meeting with the producers and just sort of hearing the kind of music that the band might play, and they threw B-52s at us, that I just started singing the way I thought Fred Schneider sounded in my head, having grown up listening to the B-52s, and everybody started laughing. I was like, oh, I guess this sounds exactly like it. So that and Mick Jagger and Springsteen, all these literally, I found out about them the day Whose Line found out that I could do them. I was not the guy that walked around with this bag of impressions that he could do. I remember I could do Kermit when I was a kid. That was like, I could do some of the Muppets. I liked to pretend to be the Muppets, but I was not an impersonator or doing impressions at all. So I was literally trying to come up with them on the spot when they did. There was some game we played, I don't think they played it for years, but it was Bad Impressions, and we just had to start doing a scene. It was kind of like the questions game. Each time we came into the scene, we had to come in as a different person. And I invariably, the only ones I could do were James Mason, James Stewart, and the rest were cartoon characters. I had never done that before. So I think I've been pegged over time as one of the guys that does impressions. That's been, part of my arsenal my entire life, and it really wasn't until they asked me to do it.
Yeah, and the Frank Caliendo of music impressions.
Oh, yes. Doesn't he do music, too?
I don't know. I don't know.
I know. I've always been amazed. Rich Little and Frank Caliendo, those guys have always amazed me. So I can get away with it by doing it while I'm singing, because then I'm just basically trying to replicate what I heard on the radio.
Yeah. I just had a question pop into my head that is something I was always curious about, and I don't know if it's a secret of the games or whatever, but maybe you can help shed a little light on it as well. I know when you guys played Greatest Hits and things like that, it always made me wonder. Because I know a lot of the things that happen behind the scenes. I watched a good 40-minute gag reel of Whose Line that just cracked me up. So I know obviously there's production breaks and things like that were in the show. But when it comes to the musicians that were on. Lauren Hall, I think, was the piano player.
Yeah, Laura Hall, yeah.
Laura Hall.
Linda Taylor.
And Linda Taylor. Whenever Colin and Ryan would come up with the music style to give them, would they come up with that and play that right on the spot, or were they kind of prepped beforehand that these are the styles that they might mention?
Yeah, those guys were those. The way it would work is the music singers like me and Wayne. We would have a music rehearsal with the producers and Linda and Laura, and they would sort of ask them, what would you play if we did could you do sort of a rip-off, this is the producer's voice, could you do like a Rolling Stones something, and then they would start riffing on that, and then they would say to us, okay, and then they would turn to a PA or something and say, give us a title for Songs of the Dentist, and they would go, My Tooth Hurts. And they say, okay, do a Rolling Stones of My Tooth Hurts. And then Linda and Laura would maybe play something like Gimme Shelter or whatever. And then Wayne and I would just sing 2 lines of that. So they would see if stylistically that would be entertaining for the show. Does it sound enough like a Rolling Stones that we would go, okay, that sounds like Rolling Stones? And was it a tempo that would move fast enough that we could get out a couple of lyrics and verses in a quick amount of time? Because everything kind of had to be a fast version of whatever type of music we were spoofing.
Yeah.
And so then they would make their notes like, oh, that's a good one. Okay, yes. So we can do a Rolling Stones, and we can do. So then in that rehearsal, they would find 10 to 15 that they really liked that Wayne and I did together. And then from those 10 to 15, they would decide which ones they wanted to see on the show, and then they would give I don't know how many of those to Colin and Ryan.
Okay, yeah, because I knew that the lyrics that you and Wayne were coming up with were improv, obviously, because they were coming from suggestions from the audience. But right. I was just always curious about the style, and always wondered if Laura, and Linda were so quick, musically improv, or improv musically like that they could come up with that. So that was something that I was always curious about.
Yeah, they and Ryan and Colin would have just advanced notice of because they would usually give us 3 songs, so they probably want to give us 5 just so that they could choose the best 3.
Yeah.
For the show. Right. So before the show, the only prep that those guys would all have is what 5 genres they were going to throw at us, and Wayne and I would have no idea. We wouldn't know what style it was going to be, and then obviously we wouldn't know what the subject matter or the title was going to be till the moment it was thrown out by Ryan and Colin, who were making up the titles on the spot based on what the occupation was.
Yeah.
Well, speaking on improv in general, I mean, I know Whose Line would use 4, sometimes 5, when the guests would come on, and then obviously with you and Colin, it's 2. How many players would you say is too many when it comes to improv? I mean, have you ever done 6, 7, you know what I mean, an all-star type of thing where you have a bunch of guys out there?
Yeah, there's a traffic pattern problem the moment there are 3 people on stage.
Okay.
Because a conversation is between 2 people.
Right.
So, and if something is dramatic and happening between those 2 people, the third person, by nature, in a conversation is going to have to find ways to get into that conversation.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
So when if I say something, Colin responds, and then his response I have to respond to. So there's a natural flow between 2 people improvising because they're just reacting back and forth like in tennis.
Right.
But now imagine you're playing tennis with, a sort of a Y-shaped net, and each guy is on a third of the court, and you don't know which way the ball's going to go, but the ball can only be hit by one person at a time.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
So if I'm hitting the net, if I'm hitting the ball over to you, then Adam is on the other net waiting for it to come back to me. To come to him. So he's always going to be temporarily dormant until the ball is coming to him, and then between the 2 that are hitting, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no,
that does.
I think the
nature of any conversation is speaking and responding and speaking and responding, and the third person who, whatever the accusation was not levied toward, literally has to butt in or interject or stop the flow of what,
Right.
if you and I are having an argument, he has to jump in at the last, to get his words in.
Yeah, I think the stand, sit, kneel game would probably be a good example of the confusion that having a third person in would be.
Well, I mean, and also with improv, I mean, it kind of benefits from the knowledge of pop culture and current events, especially when it comes to some, jokes. Do you go out of your way to stay in tune with that kind of stuff, like what movies and shows are popular or current events, or does that kind of come naturally to you?
I have a curious mind, so I don't pour over. We certainly don't do a lot of political or current events stuff. And our show, because we're bringing audience members up on stage and we're playing games, there's not going to be a bunch of pop culture people references like Lindsay Lohan or Kim Kardashian or whatever. There might be a joke if someone says something about a big butt, then a Kim Kardashian reference could come in. But we don't have to sort of absorb everything that way. But it's certainly good to know about genres and styles so that you can spoof them, and you don't want to be completely oblivious to waves that are sweeping the nation. What was that dance that Psy did? I've completely forgotten it.
Gangnam Style?
Gangnam Style?
Yes. Oh, thank God that's already out of my mind. But yeah. You don't want to miss that because that might come up, and you want to be able to at least do a bad version of it. I certainly wouldn't stand in the front of the mirror and try and do it, but in my brain, having seen it on television, if someone had said that as a suggestion, I certainly wouldn't want to go, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
The show, obviously, back to Whose Line for a second, the show has obviously seen a couple different iterations, from the British iteration and then over to America. There's been two different ones. We haven't seen you as much in the new iteration of the show on CW. Any chance that we're going to see you some more in this new season that's coming up?
Yes, I am shooting in March. They're shooting some right now in January, and I know I have a tape day or two in March. And, of course, they generally get 2 to 3 episodes out of any one taping.
Okay, cool.
So, when they first brought it back, the producers told me and Greg that they weren't sure we were even going to be on the show again because the CW network wanted lots of young, new, different faces. They didn't want to feel like they were just buying the old ABC version.
Yeah.
So they put their fingerprints on it and added some new people. And, finally on the second season, Greg and I both got to come back, which was very nice.
Yeah.
And, you got to keep the old guard around, at least for, a courtesy visit.
Yeah.
Well, and with you and Brad touring, I mean, obviously you guys have great chemistry, so that obviously shows, on the show as well as the tour.
Yeah.
Did you just say him and Brad? Because he is Brad.
That's why I said Colin.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I don't know. Well, I have really good chemistry with myself anyway. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because I think CW did a good job, at least. They kind of found a little bit of a niche by bringing on other stars to kind of participate with you guys in the games. So I think that kind of keeps it a little younger and fresh at the same time.
Yeah, well, they bring out a lot of people that are on CW shows, too, which, is great. Product placement makes sense to me.
Yeah, because I think one of the episodes you were on, you were with Misha Collins from Supernatural, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And has Supernatural asked me to be on the show? No. That seems kind of rude, I think.
I would agree.
Quid pro quo.
Besides Greg and obviously Colin and Ryan, I think you're one of the few people that has had the opportunity to be part of both the British version of Whose Line and both American versions with Drew and Aisha. Out of all three versions, is there a certain host that you prefer between Clive or Drew or Aisha? Is there anyone that are your favorite?
Well, they're so different. To me, they are all really funny people, and I've actually known all of them for a long time. I knew Aisha. We were both doing comedy. I was in an improv group that played the Laugh Factory in L.A. every Sunday night, and she was the host there on Sunday nights. And this was back in the 90s. So I've actually known her longer than either of the other two hosts. So,
Okay.
you know, and she is super funny, and Drew was like one of my best buddies, and you know, he laughed harder than anyone
Yeah.
at home watching the show. So he was like this great fuel sitting at the desk giggling like a little boy the whole time we were doing the show. So that was fun, and he was such an easy person to pick on, you know, because he just sort of begged for it, you know, and he would come up and do a game with us, and we all got to make fun of him for it. And then, you know, Clive was like, he was like the British David Letterman, just super sarcastic and snide. So you had to walk around him with a certain deference because you didn't want him to flay you open with a sarcastic comment. So, you know, it's kind of fun because each show has had its own host personality that adds to the personality of the show.
Yeah.
Now, Aisha is totally a smartass, so she like laps everybody in line, almost like the sort of the dominatrix teacher, you know, handing out the scores and making snarky remarks.
Yeah.
So that's fun. And then, you know, Drew was like our goofy friend who was driving the bus that we sometimes put kick me signs on. You know, so there's just like it's like these different relationships.
Yeah, I loved Drew as the host because, like you said, he would laugh harder than the audience sometimes, and just his laugh was so infectious that anytime he lost it, I lost it sitting watching at home. Like I just loved that. I thought it was great.
He's got a very infectious laugh.
Yeah, definitely.
I always found it funny too that with Drew back when the Drew Carey show was on. Like, I just remember when I was younger. I'm like watching Who's Line. I'm like, wait, all these people are like on the Drew Carey show at one point or another. And thinking about it really makes me hope that or wish that show was still on the air because that was such a great show. And you know, I mean, it was so funny.
Yeah.
You did a couple. You did a couple episodes of Drew too, didn't you? You were the host of the live shows.
Yeah. I think we did 3 of them. 3 seasons. They had us come and do the Who's Line live, where we sort of parachuted in and destroyed the semblance of order of a sitcom.
Do you have a favorite Who's Line game?
Oh, it's so hard to say. I mean, I'm a big fan of the musical ones just because they're so challenging.
Yeah.
Literally, you hear a title and you're trying to make a contextual sense of what you're saying. It has to rhyme, and it has to be funny. And then based on the style, you have to be singing it on key to notes that you don't know where they're going, and do service to, if it's Bruce Springsteen, sort of sound like him. So it's kind of like the plate spinning game where you've got like intellectually 8 plates going at the same time. Whereas most of the other games, you're just sort of in a conversation, hoping that you can say something funny to the guy that's saying something to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard Colin told me that my favorite game, the props game, is the most hated game on Who's Line.
Yeah, it's you know, it's just kind of, it's like a riffing on cleverness. I never minded it much just because when I was a kid I was a cartoonist, so I think sort of spatially and visually about what things are and sort of look like when they're not what they actually are.
Yeah.
But I think it just went on too long, so in the live tapings, you know, there were usually 3 or 4 that were just not funny. So you've got all these really funny people doing like 5 really funny ones, and then 3 or 4 that just are like dud, you know.
Yeah.
And we don't like to do that. We don't like to be dragged into the dud zone when we can be funny in all these other things.
Actually, let's be correct for a second, Adam. I think Colin said that it was everyone's least favorite game behind Hoedown.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. Well, Hoedown, is Hoedown because it literally ended every single show since the show began, basically. So Ryan and Colin, I don't think, have ever known an episode not singing Hoedown. And, it's like, we're done with it. That's, I think, why they feel that way. Of course, you know, I'm not doing every episode, so I'm just so excited to be there taping that I would sing, 10 Hoedowns at a taping.
Yeah. Any plans to adapt any other Who's Line games to the tour while you guys are out?
We're kind of always innovating. I mean, the key is it has to be a game that works well with just 2 players, and it has to be a game where if there is a caller that we, that's a a facilitator that somehow calls some aspect of the game, that we can give that power to the audience.
Yeah.
And it has to be the power that we can give them so that they can switch it up and change it if they need to. But there's a certain delicacy to comedic timing to know when and instinctually what is the best way to do that. So you can't hand them the reins to drive a scene into the ditch, if that makes sense. You don't want to leave them so much responsibility that they're either undercalling or overcalling a game. So we have to always factor that part in to make it as goofy and silly. And we like to bring as many people up on stage as possible. So we're always trying to figure out how we can take old improv games and somehow bring an audience member up on stage for it.
Yeah. I can't remember if this is a game I've seen you guys do or not. Have you guys ever done quick change on stage?
Yeah, quick change. We call it new choice.
Okay.
Whose Line calls it quick change. But yes, we used to do that all the time, and then we've sort of done several variations of it.
Okay.
And then we always did it with the gang in Vegas, too, for all the Super Bowl shows.
Gotcha.
On the flip side of that, are there any ones that you guys came up with that you ended up getting onto Whose Line at some point? Or obviously not Mousetraps, but...
Yeah, Quick Change, actually, which I called New Choice, was a game that I came up with when I was teaching improv in theater sports way back when.
That's pretty
cool. And the Sideways scene, which they're doing now on Whose Line, we did at Just for Laughs when we were hosting Just for Laughs in Montreal a bunch of years ago. You can actually look it up on YouTube.
Everything's
we were in our
tuxedos.
we were in our tuxedos, and we did the Sideways scene where we had them call different styles. So we played the styles game as a Sideways scene, and it was really fun. And so that was the first time that came to television. And now they're doing it on Whose Line, and they also did it on a show called Trust Us With Your Life that the producers of Whose Line also did.
Okay.
Well, before we let you get going, I had one more question. Like I had watched a couple earlier interviews with you, and this was one. It had to be probably close to 10 years ago, but it was on some local TV station, and they pulled out a hat and pulled little things out of a hat, just like scenes from a hat, and they had you improvise on camera. Did that happen, and does that still happen very often? I mean, I gotta imagine that gets annoying after a while. You're there just to kind of to talk, and they kind of doesn't that feel like you're like dance puppet?
Yeah, that was kind of a comedy ambush. But looking back, I mean, as awful as awkward as it still makes me cringe when I watch it. It wasn't
so
as bad as it could be.
About?
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah, I remember it because it's the only time I let it happen.
Okay.
Because normally people will be like, okay, so we were thinking of doing this, and then you go, oh, I don't think that would be a good idea. They didn't mention that, so they just like launched it on me when I was actually doing.
You didn't seem like it was coming.
No, I had no idea.
Okay.
and they were like, I don't know what they were doing. It was like not scenes from a hat or one line worlds. Like what they were asking me to do was basically impossible. So I was in my brain. I was like, okay, I have to come up with one line funny things to say to whatever this scenario is. It literally has to be a one sentence punchline that I am synthesizing from these, morning show. Producers, hey, this would be funny type ideas that they had thrown into a hat.
Yeah, I think the first one was about I think it was about I think it might have been like an OJ thing. So like the first one was about like homicide.
Yes, which is always hilarious.
Yeah, right, exactly.
All right, so we'll make a note of that. If we ever get to talk to Brad again in the future, do not improvise a game for him to do.
Or give him a heads up about it.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, I'm like, that never even crossed my mind to do that in an interview with someone doing improv. It's like that. You do that all the time. You're here to just kind of talk.
Radio shows always want us to do that. Like when they invite us in to come to the radio station, they always want to play a game with us. And invariably, the only thing we ever offer to do with them is do a spoof radio show.
Yeah.
Because
cool.
It's like the only thing that actually will work because what we do is theatrical and is reliant upon getting audience reaction, so it's almost like do a comedy show in a vacuum. Well, you can't really do it. Just like a stand-up would not want to do his act at the radio station.
Yeah.
He would sit and have a conversation with them and then say funny things based on what's going on in the conversation. But he wouldn't want to launch into the first 2 minutes of his set.
Yeah, but because like you said, there's no audience to gauge the reaction from.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, it would be death if you asked any bona fide, established, high level comedian to go on a radio show and just start their act. Nobody would want to do it.
Yeah.
It would be like, it makes me cringe just thinking of it.
Well, it's like anytime you watch like Last Comic Standing and the comics are auditioning for a panel of 3 people. It's always kind of awkward, and it's tough on the comedian too, because it's the comedian can't even judge how their act is going without an audience. It's just these 3 stone-faced judges.
Yeah.
So, but you guys are back on tour right now. I know you're going to be coming back to we're in the Philadelphia area. You're going to be coming back to our area November 21st, and I know I will definitely be in the audience for that.
Terrific.
So
excellent. We'll come backstage and say hi when you do.
We would love to. We actually asked Colin about that, and he said absolutely. We could come back and meet you guys. So that just reaffirms that you just said that too. So we will definitely take advantage of that.
Colin is actually 2'3", but he wears these listening shoes, so you'll be surprised at just how short he is.
Awesome.
Yeah, I haven't seen a show yet, so I'm really excited for you guys to get back in town, because I think last time you were at that theater was like probably 2 years by the time you get back to it. So I don't even know that I knew you guys were coming to town. So now that I know and have a heads up, I'm definitely clearing my calendar, because like Ben said, I've heard you guys are fantastic, and I expect I'm not surprised by that at all after seeing you guys.
We always say we're the second funniest comedy show you will ever see. And then when people say, well, what's the first? I say, well, just legally, we want that disclaimer. So that you can't sue us and ask for your money back.
That's a good one. But yeah, appreciate the invite, Brad. We'd definitely take advantage of that. Come back and meet you guys. We'd love to meet you guys.
Great.
So we want to point people to your Twitter account, @TheBradSherwood. And also your website, bradsherwood.com, as well as colinandbradshow.com, which is where people can find.
That one's, as far as websites go, that one's the one to check out, because that one has all the updated tour information. colinandbradshow.com. Now, it may have a bunch of dates listed in January, but those are false, because Whose Line is taping right now. So
oh, okay.
Some of those have gotten moved, and hopefully they've updated it, but, I'm relaxing at home, and I'm not going to look.
Well, we'll do the research, and we'll make sure people are updated on that too. Yeah. So, but this was this was a lot of fun, Brad. Thanks for spending some time with us tonight.
Yeah, man.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So,
and I'll see you guys when we come to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
All right.
So, all right. Thanks, Brad.
No problem. Take care.
This is Kevin Bigley from Sirens, and you're listening to Next Level Radio.
Catalina wine mixer.
So we now officially have it on record that we are invited to go backstage and meet Brad and Colin when they come to town in November.
Yeah. We didn't even have to ask him.
That was the best part of it, because Colin we asked off the air and didn't really get any information from, and then Brad brought it up during the interview, as you just heard, and yeah, so it's official. And then we spoke with Brad afterwards to figure out exactly how to do it, so we know how to do it, and we got to get our tickets to that soon too.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to go see them.
I've seen him a couple times already. I can't wait to see him again. Even more so now that we actually get to go backstage and meet them.
Steve can come too.
Yeah, he can. He's he's pretty part of the show now, so. Plenty of tickets are still available. So if you're in our area somewhere, they're coming to State Theater in Easton, PA in November. So, statetheater.org, you can go and check that out. And if you are not anywhere in the area around us, you can just go to colinandbradshow.com and figure out when they're coming, and we recommend going to see them.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, before we get into next level news, last week when we had talked about American Sniper, I forgot to mention one part of the movie that was so blatantly fake, and it was the babies in that movie. I don't know if maybe I just picked up on it.
I want to say that's because she was breastfeeding at the beginning of the scene. So that seems dicey to me.
Yeah. But yeah, they were both times though, like both kids, I could tell they were baby dolls. And I don't know if that's just because I had a child and I know what an infant looks like, and it's not that still ever when it's awake. But that was the one thing I was like, that is the fakest baby I've ever seen in a movie. Other than that, it's a fantastic. What did we give it, a 9, I think?
No, I think American Sniper we gave 8s.
Yeah, I think I gave it like an 8.5. You guys gave it 8s.
Imitation Game, we gave a 9.
That was the 9er.
And I noticed last podcast too, going back when I listened, in the beginning of the podcast when I mentioned the movies that we were reviewing, I guess neither of you caught it when I said it. I said that we were reviewing American Sniper and The Theory of Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I listened back and I picked up on it, but I didn't pick up on it live.
So, yeah, I picked up on it when I was editing the podcast last week.
If that's possible. Is it possibly live on a podcast?
Well, it's live for us.
Okay.
We're not doing this like an animated movie where we're all in studio at a different time. That would be weird.
That'd be cool.
Be weird.
Speaking of which, you want to mention real quick, next... No, I lied. Not next. Yeah, next week.
Yeah,
we will have we will have Amber Nash from Archer. We talked to Lucky Yates a few weeks ago. nextlevelradioonline.com/interviews. But next week we will be joined by Amber Nash, who voices.
It's
Amber
Peg,
Nash
isn't
is
it?
Pam.
Pam. Yeah.
Not Peg. Pam.
I couldn't remember the name. I just knew it was the big blonde.
I knew it started with a P, and I couldn't remember.
I think I can clear up this whole Pan confusion.
I'm sorry, you're saying Pan?
Hey, little lady.
Panned. P-A-N-D.
I think the N is silent.
Yeah.
By the way, that's Step Brothers, if you don't get the reference out there.
Yes.
So anyway, sorry to interrupt before you got to Next Level News, but a couple of things I wanted to get off my chest.
No, that's fine. So with that being said, let us start off with the Next Level News.
This is Next Level News.
All right, starting things off, set a date in your calendar. The Golden Globes are set for 2016, or the 2016 ceremony for January 10th. The Hollywood Foreign Press Association has set the date for the 73rd Annual Golden Globe Awards, Sunday, January 10th, 2016. NBC will air the live telecast from 5 to 8 p.m. Pacific Time and 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time from the Beverly Hilton in Beverly Hills.
Do they have? I forget. They don't have a host yet for that.
I don't think anything has been named as of yet. Moving on, Eddie Murphy. I thought this was pretty cool. Eddie Murphy to return to SNL for the first time in 30 years.
Oh, that's cool.
Eddie Murphy will be returning to Saturday Night Live for the first time in 30 years as part of the show's 40th anniversary. Murphy announced his plan to return to SNL during to host of TV's One News Now on Thursday. When Martin questioned Murphy about why he has never hosted the NBC sketch comedy, Murphy told him it's just timing. It never worked out where the timing was right for me to do it, actually. They're having a 40th anniversary, I think, in 2 weeks. I'm going to that. This will be the first time I have been back since I left.
And for the 41st anniversary, Charlie Murphy and Prince.
Charlie Murphy. NBC's running a really obnoxious promo right in the middle of their sitcoms right now, so I think they're going to have a lot of people back. Like, it's going to be star-filled, I think. So if you haven't watched SNL in a while, I would probably suggest if you're going to watch an episode, this would be the one.
Yeah, I still watch, even though it's not nearly as good as it used to be.
Yeah, I'll watch the highlights.
So I want to see him come back and do one of his characters from when he was on SNL. So, I mean, either Buckwheat...
Like the donkey?
No, Gumby? He didn't do the donkey, he did Gumby.
I know.
Oh, Donkey from Shrek. Oh, yeah. I meant one of his characters from SNL, Jack.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Like Buckwheat, Gumby, or Mr. Robinson.
I think a lot of them come back and do characters. Steve Martin and Dan Aykroyd were back like last year, maybe it was, or a couple years ago.
Whenever Will Ferrell came back, didn't he do Alex Trebek?
I hope so.
Yeah, I think he did it for Celebrity Jeopardy.
Yeah. Oh, God, I love those. Those are probably my favorite skits of all time.
Yeah. Did you ever see, I don't know if I've asked this before, but did you ever see the Celebrity Jeopardy where Alex Trebek actually showed up?
No, I don't think I did.
Did you see it, Steve?
No, I didn't.
There's Will Ferrell's up there playing Alex Trebek, and oh God, what's his name? Was doing Sean Connery, and Alex Trebek shows up, and oh my God, Daryl Hammond does Sean Connery.
Yeah.
And Daryl Hammond comes up and he puts his arm around both of their shoulders, and he says, "I feel like I'm in a box of Raisin Bran, 2 scoops of fruit." It's
I like,
it's pretty damn funny.
I like Norm Macdonald as Burt Round.
Yes, yeah, Burt Reynolds was always good too.
It's a good one.
I think they do Black Jeopardy now, and Keenan hosts it. Like
They do. No, they do.
What's up with that?
Family Feud.
Oh, yeah.
Because he'll play Steve Harvey. Yeah.
Do they still do What's Up with that?
They haven't done it in a couple seasons, which I'm really disappointed because I always love those sketches.
Yeah.
But continuing on with the next level news, here's another cool story. Disney is eyeing Chris Pratt for Indiana Jones revival. Here's one from the hell of a good idea department. Marvel offerings are soaring and Star Wars is being invigorated. But Disney has just started to turn its attention to reviving the Indiana Jones franchise after buying the rights from Paramount in 2013. And the rumor has it that the studio has set its sights on Chris Pratt as the swashbuckling archaeologist they hope to build the new franchise around.
Is it like a full reboot, or is this like how are they doing this? Are they
this is a reboot. This isn't
Okay.
a continuation of the old series.
Okay.
This is a complete start over, reset button.
Because they really screwed the pooch with that Shia LaBeouf one.
I thought it was okay. It wasn't great, but it
It was the second worst one.
the second. What's
Really?
the worst one?
You thought
Yeah.
that one of the originals was worse than that?
I hated the second one.
Well, come on. Really? You hated the second one?
I did not like it at all.
Because
that Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom was awesome.
Yeah, that's the best one. So your
What?
point is officially
wait.
valid.
No,
Yeah.
no. The Temple of Doom, that's the second one, isn't it?
Yeah, with Short Round.
Yeah, it's not the best one.
Yes. No.
Okay, so wait,
Well,
no, I'm sorry.
okay.
I will say that is the. I'm sorry. I will say that Crystal Skull was the worst one. Then I forgot about Short Round. He moves it to the third best.
Oh, Short Round's okay. He makes
Yeah,
it better.
Yeah, Short Round's the only saving grace of that film.
See, I think Shia was the worst part of the last one.
Correct.
The rest of the movie I was fine with.
He was the opposite of Short Round for that film.
Yes, absolutely.
Raiders of the Lost Ark is probably the best one, but Last Crusade is really close.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Last Crusade too. So I thought Sean Connery was really great in that one.
Oh yeah.
So, but last but not least, and this is another one I'm sure, I don't know if we're going to debate on this one or not, but it's one I'm very disappointed about, which is why I saved it for last. The all-female Ghostbusters reboot gets its cast.
Barf.
I know. Who you going to call? Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones, and the biggest flaw out of all of this, Melissa McCarthy.
Oh my god, I didn't even see this story, but when you said biggest flaw, I said it has to be Melissa McCarthy, he's about to say.
It's Paul Feig directing this all-female Ghostbusters reboot, and it's... I can't...
I don't have a like bomb dropping sound effect, but I'll just whistle. Okay, so I'll just go.
Yeah, that about sums it up.
pretty
Look, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, and Leslie Jones, I'm perfectly fine with because they're all brilliant. Kate McKinnon and Leslie Jones are great on SNL. Kristen Wiig is fantastic. Melissa McCarthy ruins it for me.
Oh yeah.
Especially considering the fact that Paul Feig is the one that directed Bridesmaids, and if her character in Ghostbusters is anything like Bridesmaids, I'm sorry, but I don't want to see a... And it's nothing against her, obviously, but I don't want to see a fat, jumpsuited, carrying a proton pack on her back Ghostbuster falling down. That's not what Ghostbusters is.
Maybe she's gonna play the new Slimer.
There's gonna be so many jokes about that.
She's too slapstick for Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters was more a drier humor.
Yeah.
And she's not a good fit. I'm really disappointed with this.
When I first read it, I thought it was a huge troll. Like, I thought it was one of those made-up things on the internet. And then once you read that it was actually real, that I just don't know.
You just wish it was made up.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't care what the reviews say. There's zero chance I'm going to see it. And I can say that, 5 years out ahead of time? Whatever the movie's going to come out.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm not going to be seeing this movie pretty much at all. I will say that I'm very happy about Leslie Jones. She's 47 years old, and this is the first major motion picture she's ever gotten. So to get it this late in her career is a pretty big deal, because you usually don't do that. You don't see that.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I'm all with you. The Melissa McCarthy thing throws me off. I avoid all Melissa McCarthy stuff, so that's just where I sit. But
yeah.
Are any of the original cast going to show up?
I don't know, because it's a complete reboot, so I don't know how it's going to be.
Back a few days ago, we talked to Kevin Bigley last week on last week's podcast, nextlevelradioonline.com. He retweeted a tweet that said, so the new Ghostbusters film will feature women. It doesn't sit right with me. Bill Murray and company hunting down women. Just keep it as ghosts.
And that's Bigley's sense of humor. That's what I love.
Yeah, he retweeted. The person who originally tweeted was John Fiddler, but Bigley retweeted it. I thought that was a good tweet.
Yeah, that's a good response to that too. Yeah, I don't know if the original cast is going to be in it or not. Obviously, Harold Ramis not going to be in it. Since passing away. Melissa McCarthy, though, man, that's a bad choice.
Yeah, I agree.
Are they trying to fill him in? Like, are they trying to say this woman is this guy, this woman is this guy? I guess it's way too early to try to figure that out, but to try to line up who would play who. In the
right? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know either. And it's funny too, because a friend of mine, when I brought this up to another friend of mine, he had told me, it's funny that you bring up the whole slapstick part of it, because originally Belushi, before he died, was supposed to play the part of Bill Murray. He was supposed to play the part that Bill Murray played. And in essence, if that had happened, if Belushi hadn't died and he took the part, it would have been a very different movie. And yeah. I think it worked. I think it worked out better that Bill Murray took the part. But because of how great the original is, I don't think filling McCarthy in for the Bill Murray part, if that's their plan, and adding the slapstick aspect to it, it's going to make the movie so much worse. It's not going to work.
It's going to be like Bridesmaids 2.
Yeah, just with proton packs on their back.
Yep.
There's going to be vomit jokes and Melissa McCarthy falling down, and yeah, I don't know. I think it's ruined. So
I agree.
And I think I'm with you, Steve. I think I can say at this point officially, the chances of me seeing this movie are probably going to be 0 to none.
Well, sure as shit ain't seen in the theaters, I'll tell you that much. I might see it on Netflix. I can tell you it's a Netflixer right now.
Without even seeing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that is going to wrap it up for the Next Level News. So we have 2 movies that we have to review before we get out of here this week and before we hit the Weird of the Week, obviously. Starting off, which one do we want to start off with? Do we want to start off with Grand Budapest Hotel or Birdman? I'll leave it up to you guys.
I don't care. Well, let's do Budapest.
Grand Budapest Hotel?
Yeah.
I'll start things off, because I don't know. Steve had mentioned last week that there's one movie that's at the bottom of his list, and it's probably going to stay there. I don't know what it is. It could be Grand Budapest Hotel. I'm not sure. So I will start off with my review before we get to Steve with it. I found it quirky. It had definitely had some moments that had me laughing. The cast is unbelievably huge. Not everybody has a huge role.
Right.
But I mean, you have Ralph Fiennes, Adrian Brody, Willem Dafoe, Jeff Goldblum, Harvey Keitel, Jude Law, Bill Murray, Edward Norton, Jason Schwartzman, Tom Wilkinson, Tilda Swinton.
Did you say Jeff Goldblum?
I did say Jeff Goldblum. Okay. Fisher Stevens from Short Circuit was in this movie. The cast is huge. Owen Wilson is a role.
I could do without him. But he's in a couple Wes Anderson movies, so.
Well, I think a lot of these people are in Wes Anderson movies.
Wes Anderson has his type of cast at this point, which is fine because it's a lot of famous people that people like.
And I think it's mainly because they all just like working with him. I think they just like coming back.
That would make sense.
So, and when movies like this are getting nominated for an Academy Award, why would you not want to come back and do a movie if he asks you to come back?
Yeah, the one about Summer Camp got some notoriety as well. Wes Anderson's on the uptick as far as the Academy is concerned.
He's a good director. I think, his films are very unique. You know when you see a preview, it's a Wes Anderson film.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no question.
Yeah, and Grand Budapest is no different. It definitely has the Wes Anderson look to it.
Yeah, I think quirky's the right the right word that you used earlier.
Yeah. So I'm curious, though, to know what you guys thought of the movie.
Steve, you can go.
This is the one that's near the bottom of my list, just because Wes Anderson isn't my alley, so to speak, but it's classic Wes Anderson, and if you like Wes Anderson, you'll love it. And it's good as far as Wes Anderson does some good stuff and some bad stuff, even as far as actual movie reviews are concerned. But this is a good one. It's fun. It's weird, like Ben said. It's odd, but it's fun, and it's got a lot of famous people in it, so it keeps you entertained at least throughout the entire thing. And Ralph Fiennes is really good. You can see why he got nominated. He did really well playing the main character, I guess, in the role. So I think it's at the bottom, but this is also a really good year for movies. So I'm just comparing it to all the other Oscar-nominated movies. But it's a solid movie. Wes Anderson just isn't my thing, so to speak.
Yeah, saying it's at the bottom of your list doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It's just
No, not at all. Yeah,
like you said, it's a really good year, tough year for Academy nominated movies. So, I agree. Ralph Fiennes is really good in the movie, but you know who I actually really liked, and it's just because he's just such a weird person in general, is Dafoe.
Yeah,
he was really good in this.
He was really good in this
I don't
movie.
think Ralph Fiennes got nominated, though.
He did.
For what?
For actor. At least as a Golden Globe, he did.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he didn't get. I don't think he did for Oscars.
Yeah, I don't think I remember seeing him on the Oscar nominated list either. I could be wrong. I haven't looked at the list in a couple weeks.
I don't see him on here. But yeah, Golden Globe. I'm actually surprised he didn't. I mean, I guess because they only really nominate like 5 people, but Golden Globes have those multiple categories so they can nominate more people. IMDb says people who like this movie also liked Her. In spite of that, I actually kind of enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, because you didn't like Her last year. I enjoyed it.
Not one bit. No, I actually, like Steve said, I mean, I'm not a huge Wes Anderson movie guy, but this one was entertaining. You know, it actually, I liked it more than I thought I would. I wasn't excited to see it at all, but I was actually, like, it's weird because it's funny, but not like laugh out loud funny. It's just entertainingly funny.
Oh, it's Wes Anderson funny.
Yeah. So
there was a couple moments
there
that
were,
had me
yeah,
laughing out loud.
Yeah, there were a couple spots, but for the most part, it's just like entertaining and it's fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, there's one spot, and it's not really giving anything away, but there's a part towards the end of the movie where they're going through. They're told to meet someone somewhere, and I guess it's all the priests that are there, and every one of the priests that comes up to him asks him, "Are you such and such?" And he's like, "Uh-huh."
Yeah.
And I think the last one, like, he kind of flips out a little bit.
Yeah,
that's classic Wes Anderson.
So, but yeah, I agree. I thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was good. It wasn't as good as the movies we saw last week, but you know, when you're nominating 8 to 10 movies, I think this was pretty deserving of a nomination. I don't think it's going to win or should win, but I can see why it got nominated.
Yeah, I agree. Going around, let's give this for
hotels, I guess.
Hipsters.
Hipsters?
Yeah, Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah, that's true.
One out of 10 hipsters.
Since I reviewed first, I'll start it off. I'm going to give it 7. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. So 7 out of 10 hipsters. Steve?
I got 6.5 hipsters on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 7 as well.
Okay.
7 hipsters, which is good. I mean, you look at it out of 5 stars, that's 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah. So it's a good movie. I'm glad I saw it.
Yeah, so. I would agree. It's not, I'm not aching to go watch it again, but it's definitely entertaining.
Yeah. The next movie we are going to review is one that I raved about when I first saw it, so I'm going to wait till last to do my review. But Birdman, starring Michael Keaton.
What happened to that boy?
I was waiting for it. Michael Keaton, Emma Stone, Edward Norton. So, who was also in Grand Budapest Hotel?
Yeah. Yeah, I picked up on that. I didn't realize he was in Grand Budapest Hotel until I started. I'm like, oh wow, 2 Ed Norton movies this week.
Yeah. Which I really liked his part in Grand Budapest Hotel, but I really loved his part in Birdman. But
yeah,
again,
he was really good in Birdman.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna leave this to you two first.
All right, I guess I'll start. By the way, it's about a washed-up actor who once played an iconic superhero who battles his ego and attempts to recover his family, his career, and himself in the days leading up to the opening of a Broadway play.
And it's kind of fitting that it's Keaton that plays that part.
Because of Batman.
Because of Batman.
Yeah. A good cast in this one as well, by the way. Zach Galifianakis, who played a very, much more serious role than he's ever played. I mean, he used to be kind of the Melissa McCarthy of men, but
yes.
He's actually done a few really good, roles that aren't like a train wreck, like she does. But anyway, him, Emma Stone, Michael Keaton, like you said, Ed Norton, Naomi Watts. I mean, there's a good cast in this one too, and I thought the acting in this was fantastic. The movie itself, was good. It wasn't, I still think I liked a couple of the other ones we saw better as far as an overall movie goes, but the directing and the acting in this was so good. I mean, it was just fantastic. I mean, for especially the directing, just like how it all looked like it was one shot, basically, is really tough to pull off. And
they call that cinematography.
Yeah, I think, thanks. I think he, pulled it off well in Inarritu.
Yeah, it's not a movie that's for everybody. I'll give it that. But as somebody who is, who's, worked in film before and stuff as I have, I think it's more of a filmmaker's movie. I'll put it that way. Just because of the cinematography, as Steve said, the cinematography in this movie is brilliant.
Yeah.
But I will pass it on to Steve to give his review before I give my full.
Sure. When I say that the Wes Anderson isn't really my alley, this is kind of the opposite in the sense that this movie is up my alley because it makes its bones, kind of like Adam said, with the acting and with the cinematography, and I'll go further into that. The dialogue is fantastic, because that's really what I enjoy in a good movie. So it played. I was the audience that the movie was hoping to play to, and I thought it was spot on, it was really good, and I really enjoyed, and it was rolling right along. I had some things about the end, but when you think about the end a little bit more, you kind of have to have an analytical mind more than just a straight entertainment mind. So yeah, I didn't like the end right away, but now when you think about it a little bit more, it kind of it grows on you, so to speak. So
it can be interpretive.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm not even talking about opening night, the end. I'm talking about what follows. End. Yeah, what follows that. But
yeah.
I thought it was really good all the way around. The cinematography is pretty much a slam dunk. It's as sure a thing as there is in the Oscars this year, I think, that it'll win cinematography. And yeah, like I said, I think the dialogue was fantastic and the acting is really good, and that really carries the movie. So it's a really good movie in a year that has a lot of really good movies.
Yeah,
I would agree.
I agree with you completely. The dialogue is fantastic. And when I had first seen this, I know I did the review on the podcast a couple months ago when I got the chance to see a screening of it. Back when it was in 4 theaters in the country, I had a chance to go to one of them and see the screening of it. And I came back and I said during the review that Keaton is going to win for this. He's going to win some awards for this movie. And man, I wasn't kidding. He's won a ton of awards for this movie already. Nominated for the Academy Award. The movie's nominated for the Academy Award. Everybody in this movie is just fantastic, and the cinematography, like you said, Steve, is what sells it. I remember I was sitting in the theater and I was watching closely, and as somebody who's been behind the camera before, I was watching for cuts, man, and they're so well hidden.
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. I really do.
Well, I read interviews too with some of the cast, and like the opening scene of the movie, there are no cuts. It's a legit like 15-minute long scene that they had so much going on behind the camera to make it work.
Go ahead.
It worked. I was just going to say that it worked.
Yeah, Emma Stone talked about that on Letterman, about how difficult it was, essentially, that they're doing it in one cut. Like, there are no cuts, so they're going pretty much 15 minutes, like you said, right in a row. And Emma Stone was saying how she's never done anything like that before.
Yeah, when I first saw she was in this, I was a little unsure of how she was going to fit into the movie, but she actually did a really nice job in her role.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said about the ending too, the ending, which is very, as you said, Adam, very interpretive. It's one of those things that I had already seen it, but I knew I wanted to watch it again, even for I didn't have to watch it again for the review if I didn't want to, because it was so burned into my mind because of how great I thought it was the first time. But I still wanted to watch it again. And even though I was okay with the ending the first time, you're right. The second time around, the ending kind of grows on you a little bit. and it's a little easier to swallow, and it's a little, I don't want to say easier to understand, because it's with something that's open to interpretation like that. Only the person that can watch it can understand it the way they want to understand it. But yeah, I enjoyed the ending even more the second time, and I was really impressed with this movie even the second time around. So it's one I will definitely buy. Actually, it's one I've already pre-ordered, so I'm waiting for it. I think it's February 12th. I believe it's coming out. It comes out the same day as St. Vincent and Game of Thrones Season 4. So
it's a good day. Yeah.
Which I definitely, if we can find the time, I want to review St. Vincent next week too. So, because I definitely want to see what you guys think.
Yeah, either next week or the week after. We'll find time to put it in there somewhere.
Yeah, so I think sometime in the next 2 weeks, I want you guys to watch it, so we can probably review that as well. So, I know our weeks are busy, so it's a matter of finding the time. But on a scale of 1 to 10, oh wait, you know what? Real quick, the other thing I really dug about this movie, and Steve, you might have picked up on this as well, the soundtrack to this movie was nothing but drums.
Why would I have not picked up on that?
Well, I didn't mean that you wouldn't have picked up on it, but I know just because Steve with the cinematography and everything that he's a little bit more into.
I'm pretty sure I mentioned the cinematography. I didn't call it cinematography.
Well, that's why I went to Steve on this one, because you didn't know the proper terminology. I'm only messing with you, Jesus Christ. But yeah, the soundtrack to this movie was nothing but drums.
Yeah, and they showed the guy at the end too.
Yeah, I actually did notice. Thank you. So
yeah, no problem.
I happened to play the snare drum when I was younger, so I'm very in tune to the drumming.
Can you play any songs?
No, it was just one drum. There was no drum set, right? It was just one drum.
Just one snare drum.
It was such a pain in the ass to take to and from school, too. I was like in 6th grade taking this huge-ass drum. Anyway, that's a topic.
But yeah, the soundtrack was really good as well. So let's say 1 to 10 snare drums.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want no scrubs.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting to see when you were going to play it.
You went first, Adam.
I'll go. This is tough. I think I gave American Sniper an 8.5. I'll give this one 8.25.
Okay.
I also will give it an 8.25, but I gave American Sniper an 8. So
you did.
Our order of movies is different, but we gave the same review.
And I gave American Sniper an 8 and The Imitation Game a 9, so I'm going to give Birdman... I don't want to give it another 9 because I want to try and keep everything separate. So I'm going to give it an 8.75.
So we all have Imitation Game better.
Pretty much.
Now, out of the 5 actors in a leading role, we've seen 3 of them in their movies. Bradley Cooper, Benedict Cumberbatch, and Michael Keaton. Out of those right now, before seeing Foxcatcher or Theory of Everything, who is your favorite to win?
Oh man, that's tough.
It's a toss-up for me between Cumberbatch and Keaton.
Yeah, that's where I stand right now, too.
Do you want me to go? Because I've seen 4.
Yeah, you've seen The Theory of Everything, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
I think Keaton was my favorite, but if I'm a, whatever you call it, Academy
voter
person, then Eddie Redmayne wins.
Yeah, really? I have a feeling Eddie Redmayne is going to win this even before seeing that movie. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So if taking that out of the equation, so Keaton's your second favorite?
Are you talking to me? Keaton is my favorite as like the actual favorite performance that I've seen. But
okay, I got you.
So yeah, I would put Keaton second for sure.
Yeah, I think Cumberbatch had a really strong performance, like we said last week. But after seeing this, I think Keaton might edge him out just between those two. But like Ben said before, seeing Theory of Everything, I could probably see your point.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this or not, too, but speaking on Benedict Cumberbatch and The Imitation Game, Alan Turing, the character that he played in The Imitation Game, was gay. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Benedict Cumberbatch has been teaming up with Stephen Fry, who is another British comedian who is gay. As a matter of fact, they're trying to get a lot of these people from back then who were persecuted for being gay, including Alan Turing. They're trying to get they're trying to get those charges overruled, so that they can.
Which Turning already
clear of
has
those
a pardon,
charges.
I think, right?
Pardon, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, Alan Turner, but they're trying to. I think it's like 53 other people that they're trying to get pardoned for those charges as well, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for our reviews for those two movies for this week. Next week, we are going to be reviewing The Theory of Everything, which we had just mentioned with Eddie Redmayne, as well as Whiplash, which is one I'm really anticipating seeing. So, with J.K. Simmons as well.
Not to be confused with J.K. Rowling, who was the author of Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. That would be weird.
Yes.
So, but let's get ready to wrap things up and let us hit the Weird of the Week.
And now the Next Level Showcast presents the Weird of the Week.
All right, let's start things off with two stories this week. In New York, a suspicious package at New York City bus station filled with 1,000 condoms.
Hey-o.
Police say a suspicious package left behind a concrete barrier of New York City bus station didn't contain any explosives, but did have some unexpected contents. 1,000 individually packaged condoms for both men and women. Is that a thing?
Just keep reading before you embarrass yourself.
A spokesman for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey Police said Saturday that a K-9 unit was called Friday evening to the George Washington Bridge bus station. Spokesman Joe Pentangelo says investigators, with the help of dogs, checked out a silver messenger-style satchel, which Indiana Jones had, by the way, that was left in the under-construction Manhattan Depot. He says they cleared the bag of any explosives, then looked inside to find condoms of multiple brands and styles. He said no one has come forward to claim the bag and its contents. Somebody either pulled a crazy prank or was having a lot of sex.
No, they're trying to turn it for profit.
Yeah, that could be.
How to make it in America.
The underground world of condom resale. Next, we'll go to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Police, according to police, a woman dials the wrong number, offers detective drugs. Police say a woman selling drugs made a big mistake that landed her in jail. She mistakenly called an Albuquerque police detective. KOB-TV reports that 30-year-old Renee Lucero was arrested last week when she called the detective at his department-issued cell phone and made the officer an unexpected offer. Court documents said that the detective knew Lucero from a prior criminal case, but the report says he didn't think Lucero realized who she had dialed. Officer then set up a drug bust. Detectives say Lucero pulled the heroin out of her bra during a sting. She was then arrested on trafficking charges. It is not known if she had an attorney. So, file that one under stupid criminal cases, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
Little known that they got the name wrong. The woman called Hank Schrader, and her actual name was Skylar White.
See what you did there.
Yes.
But that is it for...
You chose poorly.
That's it for the Weird of the Week.
On the quick note of the Weird of the Week, I don't know if you guys saw this story or not, but this is pretty local. I think it's local to our area. I could be wrong. Did you guys see this story about the Comcast customer who had whose name was changed on their bill when they got their next bill?
Yes. So like their first name was like Asshole or something.
They changed
like
it to Asshole, yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm surrounded by assholes.
Yeah, the woman had called to cancel their service because she was trying to get a lower rate and they wouldn't give it to her. And they directed her to another person so she could cancel the service, and the person was trying like very hard to keep them as a customer, and they decided to end it as well. So when they got their final bill, they changed her husband's first name to Asshole. So it was Asshole Brown. But I will tell you, Comcast definitely made up for it.
Wait, what was his last name?
Brown.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious.
Oh my god. Asshole Brown.
His first name was Ricardo, but they changed it to Asshole.
Very descriptive of that.
Yeah. But Comcast definitely lived up to it. They apologized profusely. They refunded them for the past 2 years of their service.
Wow.
And gave them an additional 2 years of service for free.
I'm totally photoshopping my next bill.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Yeah, this is great.
I'm gonna change. Take my next bill that comes in and change my name to it somehow to You know,
dickhead or something.
Like butt fuck.
Yeah,
like butt fuck Beck or something like that.
Stuck up, snot-nosed, English, giant, twerp, scumbag, fuck-faced, dickhead, asshole.
That's too long to put on the bill.
That fit. You could probably abbreviate.
Yeah, probably. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the Showcast then. As Adam said, make sure to check in next week when we have our interview with Adam Nash.
Yeah, I'll be back.
With Amber Nash.
What happened to that boy?
I just give it a couple seconds now every time you play it because I know Steve's going to sing it. We're going to have an interview with Amber Nash from Archer, another Archer cast member going to be joining us next week. We will give you our reviews of The Theory of Everything and Whiplash. Steve, I'm sure you'll be joining us again next week for that as well. At least we hope so.
Yeah, sounds good.
Be sure to check us out on Twitter at NXT Level Radio. Give us a follow. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Next Level Radio Online. Check out our website, www.nextlevelradioonline.com. Click on the interviews tab. You can see all of our past interviews, including Kevin Bigley last week and Lucky Yates, who we had done. Was that 2 weeks ago or was that 3 weeks ago?
2, I think. That was our first one of the new year.
No, Eric Andre was the first of the new year. Lucky was second.
You're right.
So that was
it was still 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Since we're only on the 4th as well.
Yeah. Hey, we've had a guest. We've said we were going to try, and so far so good. We've had a guest every single week.
Dude, we're in good shape too because we have a couple more lined up past this one.
Yeah, Steve and I are going to be talking to. Like Ben said, we talked to Eric Andre from Man Seeking Woman. We're going to be talking to another member of that show, and we'll tell you more about that next week because that's still 2 weeks out, so don't want to step on Amber Nash's toes.
And we still have a couple other ones that we have feelers for out as well that we're trying to we're still waiting on confirmations for and such, but we're in good shape so far. We've had one a week and we got a couple more lined up, and we're going to try our best to give you an interview every week like we said.
Yeah, even if we pick somebody up off the street and just say, hey, you want to be on the podcast?
Hey, you look like Brad Pitt. Can we interview you?
Oh, yeah. I'd like to meet that person.
Name is Brad Spitz.
That wasn't a good one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Chad Ritt.
Seriously, man, you and me, we're fucking done professionally.
All right, on that note, we are going to wrap things up. Enjoy the rest of your weekend as well as your week, and we will see you next week. Everybody take care.
Later.
See ya. What happened to that one?